Alright, muri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano paZemunyuzi update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So kana uri mutsva usabve pano usina kusubscribe, kulike nekushare. Sekuziva kwatiri kuita muri yeZimbabwe pane mapetitions akati one day ari kunzi anosvika 45,000 akakandwa ari go against constitutional amendment bill number 3. So tiri kuona ma-ex combatants, ma-ex soldiers, ma-war veteran nevanhu vakasiyana siyana vari kubvunzaiwo kutoti waMnangagwa mungarisaina sei kuconstitution amendment bill number 3 muri kupikisana nevanhu vakawanda kudaro, uye judgment yakaiswa nema-war veteran kukoti isati yabuda. Chimbomirai zvinhu zvamuri kuita izvozvo. Apo patakaona futi kune vadonga takambozvisa panapa tiri kuti tidzokeredze kune vasiri kuziva kutoti kune chikwata chema-ex combatants, ma-CIO nema-soldiers vakatanga pati yavo inonzi Zimbabwe guidance iri go against CAB3 iroro muri yeZimbabwe. Tichipinda munhauwa dzavaThomas Mapfumo, vaThomas Mapfumo vari kubuda vachibvunzwa kunzi zviri kufamba sei, muri kuteedzera zvamakatewa tauriwa naSewik sezvo zvetiri kuona kuti vari kunzi vari kuda kupiwa mari vakauya kumuchato waJapreza uri kubhepedhe raJapreza, vari kunzi vari kuchapiwa mari yakati one day muri yeZimbabwe. I think pakanzi 1,500,000 rechichi chimwa. So ivo vari kutaura kuti no, inini handinamate mari, ndinonamata Mwari. Ndozvo vari kutaura kuti no, inini handisi munhu wemusangano, ndinosapota vanhu vari kuita zvinhu zvakanaka. Ndo mashoko angataurwa nava sort of like wamukanya muri yeZimbabwe waThomas Mapfumo. Rekedze timunzwe Douglas Ngonzo achitaura panapa, tichaenda kune mamwe makompreds edu tira kuti munzwe wachitaura futi panapa.
Just recently, only last week, the National Assembly passed the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, the so-called CAB3, and it awaits to be signed by Mnangagwa into law. This bill is diabolic. This bill is retrogressive. This bill brings Zimbabwe back to the Stone Age. It removes the right of the people of Zimbabwe to vote. It concentrates electoral power in the hands of the president. It is the president who is going to appoint people responsible for voter registration. It is the president who is going to appoint the delimitation commission. And it is the president who is going to appoint 10 senators. So for a minute, President Mnangagwa is going to vote for 10 people into the Senate, taking away the right of the Zimbabwean people to vote. So this amendment bill takes away free and fair elections. It lengthens, unjustifiably so, the term of office of the president and the incompetent parliament, which is a one-party state parliament. Contrary to what many people think, the origin of this diabolic amendment is certainly not the ZANU-PF Congress. At the ZANU-PF Congress in Bulawayo and the ZANU-PF Congress in Mutare, the delegates there wanted an extension of term. At no point did they say they did not want to vote for the president. At no point did they say they want the president to appoint 10 senators. At no point did they say that they want the abrogation of the rights of the people of Zimbabwe. This amendment is being sponsored by the Zimbabwean Guptas, who have captured the state. And these Zimbabwean Guptas are controlled by foreign interests, which interests are criminal in nature. This amendment is therefore an instrument of political and economic domination and control by the rich and powerful on behalf of foreign interests. Before this bill came to Parliament, it was subjected to the so-called outreach. This outreach program was pathetically stage-managed, and it was violent. The voices of the people were suppressed. Some were beaten and abused, and the statistics were poorly collected. When the bill got into Parliament, it was the first form of injustice. The Parliament itself stands to benefit from this bill, but it was asked to sit in judgment of the same bill. There was therefore conflict of interest on the part of the Parliament. We have heard that parliamentarians from across the aisle were given financial incentives. And according to reports, some say they were given $10,000 before they voted for this bill, and promised the other 20,000 should they vote favorably for the bill. In the National Assembly, ZANU-PF needed 187 votes, which would have constituted two-thirds majority in the 280-member chamber. But they did not reach that number. The numbers of the ZANU-PF MPs were in the region of 180, 181, short of the two-thirds majority. But surprise, surprise to the people of Zimbabwe, the Triple C donated 35 votes to ZANU-PF. So
muri yezimbabwe waDouglas Ngonzora ndo vari kutaura wakuona sort of like kunge zvakaipa zvekutoti ivo vakatengeswa wani mazuva aya vakuwirirana nava sort of like vaMnangagwa vachiita sei vakazobudiswa iyi mugemu. Tiri kuona vakanzi vakambowina prize here vakaita sei chii chimwe but zvakuitwa nevamwe vanhu ivo vakubhoikana nazvo chinova chiri icho chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti zvinhu zvinobvomera zvakanaka. Tira kuti tinzwe makomrade vetinawo pano, tinzwe kuti nawo dziri kunyatsa kumbofamba sei muri yezimbabwe, tuone kuti zvakamira 1-1 panapa.
Millions, they rounding them up, putting them in detention centers, deporting them. That would have cost them loads and loads of money. But the informal and immoral and illegal way that these March and March people are doing is actually saved South Africa government money. And do they care about it? No, they don't. That's why you saw Cyril Ramaphosa having a meeting with a vigilante group, telling them that, whatever you're doing, make sure it doesn't generate into violence. But we don't know exactly what was discussed behind those closed doors. It is likely, and this is my guess, that they were told, don't make it into a crisis that would, probably attract international community, but just make sure that whatever you're doing, as it is working. And there are also other people who I suspect are behind this, and they're benefiting. For example, I don't think people like Elon Musk and the American administration would want a very stable immigration policy in America, in South Africa, because recently, they were reporting that there was a white genocide. So they want as much disturbance in South Africa as possible, so that it justifies whatever claims they make about South Africa. Our government is the biggest letdown. One, they benefited from Zimbabweans going to South Africa because it became a South African problem, not their problem. Even up to now, they don't really care about whether, Zimbabweans come back or not, because the state, as we know, has been captured. We don't really have a government that is, hands-on on addressing the problems that facing Zimbabweans. So that's basically my 2 cents opinion. But thank you very much, Uncle, for this topic.
Right, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Ngoma Munya, do you want to come through?
Mr. Gerald,
The announcer lineup,
Yeah,
Saka, can you respect that, please?
time.
Aiwa, kana msina nguwa ngoma, kana msina nguwa munogona kuenda munoita zvamunoita muzodzokana ngemane time.
Aiwa,
kakosa kamuda kuti ndinenge ndiite sei inini ndaannouncer. Naye vanhu vamwari hamuna kunzwa ndinenge ndichiannouncer lineup.
No, you did announce the lineup. Raso, you have to follow into the lineup.
Aiwa, kana musina nguwa mukoma bayai ninge muzodzokana nemane nguva. Ndaannouncer lineup depending nevanhu mawiri avaita. Saka mimi, if you are not prepared, to live with that, you might as well exit. And then, you come back, when you've got, the time, to speak. Right. Ngoma Munya come through and Dr. Tadine, you follow. Those and the announcer.
as Zimbabwe, this teaches us to prioritize legal status. wakagara uine madocuments ako cash isusu semazimbabwens especially padhuze apa pabed bridge kugara uine tumadocuments wako zvinhu zviri zvakabatana cash because tine mazimbabwens immigrants yakawandisa mazimba wazhinji vacho vakutongotora South Africa nguva kutora South Africa sei nyika yavo. Ini ndoshanda nevakomana ndowanza tona vafana vechidiki mumabasa. Vafana vachinji vananishanda navo nosvika muma15 navo vana kana mapepa. Vakawana mari vanotongoenda tavern kunga vari palocal. Izvi ndevafana vakawanda vakasungwa kunoku ndiri kuKimberley iNorthern Cape. Ndevafana vakawanda vakasungwa. Kushanda vanoshanda zvakanaka but kuti vagadzise mapepa aishe inyaya. Atongona mari munhu anotozofunga mandi otherwise mari yemalunch pane pasina.
What sort of training do you do, Munya? Sorry, Munya. What sort of training? Munya? Aish. Avadona.
Oh, sorry, ndiripo.
Oh, okay. No, ndangonzwa ngokuthi no train avana.
Construction. So
okay.
Carpentry and joinery. Yeah, carpentry and joinery. Carpentry and joinery. Cupboards, kitchen cupboards, chichi. But ndaiwanzofarira kufanira kumusha because projects must need profit at the end of the day and then cheater. So vafanira kumaya zvavanodeliver vanosenzeka nawo manje masasco but as a project vanongoda kupedza kana ne 2 weeks nemasouth african ende pamwe pacho kana maheights vada kutarisa safety more than basa racho saka pakaipa zvokuti pamwe pacho tesu pamwe chazongopedza tanongoti South Africa ichatogadzirika but garika zvavo kunoku pakugarikika kunogarika kana uine madocumentations zvemamilitias izvo ndezvekunze kupinza ndogara zvayo kuno kune makaradhi matswana maxhosa mashoma mazulu mashoma ndemazulu mafriends they're still violent even vari muprovince inei wamwe changu atombondifonera naso are you still around waona mastatus am are you still around no but I'm preparing to go back because vamwe vacho vakatoramba matenants avo kuti if you don't have papers you have to go back then mamwe pane vanhu vanoshanda mudzimba vari kumusha uri patsite zvinezvi kuno kuKimberley nyaya asina mapepa but vane mapepa zvake you live a normal life because zvimamilisha zvazvo kana zvitoya zvinongoya apo neapo maybe kana 2 pagore even uya anzani angari minister of sport we-SA action aimboya kumahospitals ekuno chichichi achidzinga mafans but izvi zvakatochinja tone. So I just urge people if you prioritize your papers, your documentations, zvakakwana kuno kunogara sako kuno kuchirugarika unofanira kuziva location yauri ne-type of people around you kazhinji zvakafanana nemazulu are so violent muSouth Africa.
Achirupera Munya.
Asunzwika.
Okay, Munya.
Munya asunzwika. Ndofunga arasika network.
Yeah, I think so. I was just going to ask him, Kuti, like you said, Kwahari, like, does he know so many people that have left for Zim? But I think network again in Yeah, I think it's good.
I just want to reiterate my point yanga chitaure kunzi. Yanga chivunza kuva nemapepa. I've got 2 friends vari kulepa lalewo.
Mswa 30. Ini ndakatoenda kubasa.
Oh, okay.
Wachinji wangu wakatohwanda munomu wacho chacho kana mataxi anga asingafambe murodhi mamuri clear musina vanhu vanokutohwanda iwo wacho iwo matswana acho because they don't like violence. Kune marudzi anoda violence but kwete matswana kwete makaradi ndo vari kuno kune maafricaners varungu varashava.
Tatas naida kuti kungoudza kuti in some places they are saying kuti no, go back to your home and then come back when we are done, the border will be open. Saka kuti zvicha escalate to what level and to whatever, because as you heard them, they are actually planning to escalate this some more. Saka tichabatsira vanhu vane mapemit, are they going to be free? Rafanana munya, because tuko na power stations, some of them nema power stations are being stopped, they are not going to work. Saka is this saying kuti zvichangosvika pa extent yekuti, right, for instance, the levels of how much revenue can a business generate after such a situation has happened, zvinenge zvakwaari kuti achiweya kuti no, does he want to stay, or maybe kana kuti Zimbabwe yakubudirira, maybe kuti there's much business, there's better business to be generated within his own space and he can maintain his subsidiary inenge iri kuno, to be up to him. But where it's going to end, ndosanchiti izvakuda kuti, right, is this true in South Africa? As much as we are being given a platform namukoma jedza, we have to appreciate that totoona kuti titry kugadzira situation iyi, while least ivo vari different areas of diaspora titotsvaga rubatsiro rwavo. And in this is the way that I actually see this thing, titry kusolve these immediate problems, because tuyatsomaziva, and at the same time tinoziva kuti our civic space is polluted, but paground patoda kutoendwa tidunyeperana, because kana mawaves aya kana chinzi asi kuzostopa nezvatinoziva munyaya zvekwamboitika previously zvekuti munozarwa zvitima kana zviviri zvitatu zvogona kungoya zvikaoflodwa, ende unoziva matrucks anenge aripo, ende vanhu vanenge vachibudamo vanenge vakapfeka nhembe vakabata manhingiri emashields, tsvimbo nemapfumo, kana pose nepfuti dzinenge dziripo. Hello. Apa ndakutopedza kuchitora kuti ndapedza hangu, but I'm just saying to the facts, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. Ne line up yangaitaurwa, right? Yeah, all right, pindai jokes.
Tikadzidzira sevanhu kukwanisa kuteedza mitemo yedu, nyika yedu inoenda mberi. Takwanisa kuinsist upon the rules that we would have put upon ourselves, we will go forward. I think that's the one thing that has driven us into these states of poverty. We have governments that do not know how to respect the rules that we would have written down in constitutions, in laws, and some of them are, of course, not written but spoken. Just moral conduct. People feel that basic, and to also respect the others that have respected them. Anyway, coming back to our conversation, I have to insist, guys, Kuti, when it comes to this topic that we're talking about, we have to remember that we're talking about real human lives that are in danger, people that are actually suffering, and people that are actually potentially losing their life, either in the immediate or down the line, because the only line survival that they had, the only income that they could get has been cut off. So you always have to bear that in mind. I'm saying this so that we don't treat these conversations as mere entertainment. We should not be entertained by the loss of our kin. We should not be entertained by the blood and the pain of our own people. You don't have to come to these conversations as if it is entertainment, because it is not. If you find it as entertainment, then you have to understand that that's very morbid, sadistic. It's very sadistic, because you're finding entertainment in real suffering of fellow Zimbabweans, fellow Africans. So you have to question yourself. So I hope everyone who's coming to these conversations, participating in these conversations, is coming from the position of sincerely wanting to help our people and hoping that there is something that comes out of conversing. not merely because you do not have anything to do in the day, or simply because you like to have your ears tickled by having different people have a back and forth on such a real concrete issue. So I hope we are coming from a position of that understanding. Because there is a crisis, there are people that are truly suffering, and if we are engaging in this, we are not engaging in it from a position of being entertained or from a position of simply pushing time. If we are doing that, there's definitely a case to it, because these are people that are actually suffering, dying, real pain, real tears, children, women, men, you talk of it. I think you have seen them out. So you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I engaging in this conversation? Why am I giving hours to listen to this? What do I want the outcome to be? Why am I presiding over the conversation? So I'll stick to the topic. What do we learn from this? My leaders that were speaking. Sorry, Titus, is that you, my brother?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay, I'll continue then. There are people that have constantly said this pool that we are in is different. The pool of Zimbabwe and the pool of South Africa is different. So there's nothing we can learn from the March and March people in terms of confronting our government. Because our government kills, but the South African government does not kill. I think it's a misreading of history. But we are good at that as Zimbabweans, because if we confront history correctly, we are left with responsibilities, and responsibilities that we do not want to take up, responsibilities that we've been avoiding. The South African government kills Marikana strike, the mine. I think everyone is familiar with that one. That's a very popular one. 2012. How many miners were killed in one day because they were striking? If anyone knows. Are we not talking about over 30 people dying and maybe 70 being maimed for the rest of their life, or 250 or so being maimed for the rest of their life? So, but they still went out and they still went to confront their government, even with that statistic. And that's not the only one. I'm just talking about one where you have a lot of deaths in one occurrence coming directly from government apparatus to their citizens who were expressing a displeasure of sorts, you see. So I think we have to understand kuti pane pamwe patiri kuverenga history. Wait, Sada, go to mommy. Pane pamwe patiri kuverenga history nekuti avoid correct information, because isusu semaZimbabweans, we want to make ourselves feel some kind of way. But isusu, we can't do things that other nations can do because we are supposedly in a situation that others have never been in. I always say, kuti, do people know kuti America chaiko vanhu vanofa in protests? Their own government kills them. Right? But the people will still wake up tomorrow and they will protest again, because they understand that that's the only way that they can defend their rights, and that's the only way they can keep the governments accountable, reminding them what is the true power behind whatever power that they purport to have. We have had the ability. Also, I blame this on our leaders from both sides, ZANU-PF and opposition. They have had a tendency of writing this propaganda that somehow our salvation, our rescue, our freedom is going to come without a price being paid, or we are going to dictate what that price is. We are not. The most freest of markets ever is the market for freedom. The market of freedom, you don't tell it how much you want to pay to be free. It tells you how much it wants you to pay to be free. When Nezuro was the remembrance of Dr. Nkomo, when Nkomo started with the ANC going all the way to ZAPU, they had a price that they had set for freedom. Their price was going to be tactical negotiation, tactical confrontation, conversations. That did not work. The free market of freedom told them how much they had to pay, and they paid it. It is unfortunate they paid it, moved us forward from white dominance, and we are here, where we now have a black elite hegemony. But they moved us a step forward, and they paid the price. So if we continue in this delusion of ours, this shared delusion whereby we try to make the Zimbabwean circumstance look as if it is extremely unique and we are the only ones that are facing an autocratic government for the first time, it's not going to help us. It's the same thing when all of us sit around and then we make our anger all about what the South Africans have done without appreciating what is it that caused you to find yourself in South Africa in the first place. What caused me to find myself in the UK? What caused me to find myself in the United States in the first place? Well, if we continue to ignore that fact because we simply want to redirect our anger, directing our anger not at the genesis of the problem or the fundamentals, the root cause of your problem, and you want to be angry at the South Africans, they're not the root cause. The root cause of the problem, the reason why you have 3 million, 2 million plus Zimbabweans in South Africa and more, is because there was a political failure, a misrule by the ZANU-PF government that then eclipsed into the economy and every aspect of society. So the economy then died because the genetic and politics ne economy is good. They are semi-joined twins. Ma twins akabatana pa hip join kana kuti musoro. Can't separate them easily. They work hand in hand. So if you have a political system that is extractive, exclusive, the economic system is going to mirror exactly that. Maybe 1% is the one that said, no, I just wanted to go and live in UK. But the rest of us have been driven there because of how ZANU-PF's misrule spilled into a mismanagement of the economy, spilled into the decay of the society, whereby it is now commonplace kuti vanhu vanoziva kuti pane area inowanikwa mwana ari kuita prostitution ane 16 years. It is commonplace. Commonplace to a point whereby a national newspaper can write about it and people are not arrested. So, again, this is why I'm asking, why do you come to the conversation? And if you really address the reason and you find it that it is that you want your people to be free and to be better, there are certain arguments you're not going to make. The South Africans have served as a pressure valve that rescued ZANU-PF and the Zimbabwean people for over 30 years. That's what has happened. However, because of our numbers, you start to put also pressure on their own system. So I cannot tell you definitively that the government of South Africa is behind the people who are doing what they're doing. But I can tell you that from a strategic standpoint, they could be behind it because that would be the easiest way for them to rectify the pressure that they are getting on their own system. It will be cost effective for them to do that. I still won't be able to help who find them guilty. Nekuti hapasipo pakatangira crime, hapasipo pakatangira crime. Crime yakatangira pakuti ZANU-PF made it such that a nation as rich as Zimbabwe was no longer attractive to some of its best minds, to some of its most able-bodied young men and women, to a point where those bodies had to donate themselves at prices that are havana zvavari kuvaka zvimwe besides kukwanisa ngosustaina bhiu redu rekuti tidye kumba, a basic going next forward to the next day, those able bodies. So that's where the crime starts, where someone turns a nation of that potential to a place that is inhabitable, that is not attractive, that every young person thinks of kuti ndikubuda nchienda kupi, ndikubuda rini. And kana ndiri munomu ndiri kungoda kugaina zvinhu zvinoita kuti kubuda kwangu kunge kuri easy. That's what we as the Zimbabweans should be gearing up to confront, as opposed to trying to confront Makadzi, kana kuti one other South African artist out there. We should be confronting the root cause. Can we confront it? Yes. March and March is a demonstration that they have a portion that is similar to ours in our constitution, section 59, that says you can do this. It is your right to do this. And they've used it. They've used it knowing that it can also turn bloody, because the history says it has turned bloody, not once, but on multiple accounts. In fact, what they celebrate in 1994 came as a result of them also using such a method. Using such a method, even when they knew that it was going to turn blood. Asi isusu ndusu toda kuramba tichizviti aiwa. And this is why we find all these reasons to try and put the blame on someone else. Let's look into the mirror. Let's self-introspect. Pane basa roda kuitwa. The coming in of the Zimbabweans that are coming back from South Africa can be capitalized upon by civic institutions, the Zimbabwean citizens themselves, to organize themselves around the grievances that they have and having those grievances addressed. They can apply the same pressure that the South Africans have applied on their government, on the Zimbabwean government. They can do that. Is it a dangerous thing? Yes, it is dangerous. It was never not going to be dangerous. Never in history has it not been dangerous. We all have a responsibility. The opposition leaders should take this as a chance for them to build upon it. Are they going to do it? There's a likelihood that they won't. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with the responsibility of coming up with new leaders, not to constantly say, Atina anotitungamira, Atina anotitungamira, as if the country in its millions can no longer produce men of quality, can no longer produce women of quality, that you can grant the power that you've granted to others.
Are you saying, Kuti, the guys that are coming from SA, they might have a different mentality in terms of, challenging the status, challenging the powers that are be, or you are saying, Kuti, they need to be, they need something to motivate them?
There are two possibilities. Zimbabwe has patronage lines dzanga muchitaura nadzo panapa kuti unouya uri pabhazi wonzi ukaratidza kuti uri musangano tinobva takupawo maybe mbeu tokupawo panhu pekuti usanogare, or we try and make your landing easy. And if they choose to go that route, they will be pacified. So there's nothing that they will do rather than increase power as ZANU-PF, because no one wants to chant what ZANU-PF wants to hear. Could be comfortable in a situation that's not comfortable. Then there's a possibility that they have learned by engaging with the confidence of South Africans. Never mind what you want to call them. Constantly people would want to call them barbaric for exercising their rights or for being confrontational, because we are not confrontational, or we want to consider ourselves as peaceful when we know that inside we have a turmoil, a storm, right? There's a possibility that they have understood what the South Africans have done and know that they can also use the same method. I'm hoping that there are some of them that have that lesson that they're carrying with them. And then you can infuse it into a population that is exhausted. Let's not run away from the fact that the local population, the ones that are there that have stayed at home, have been exhausted. Exhausted mentally, because sometimes they are held trigger-ready to spring. Then nothing happens. So this could be an infusion of a people that have seen people who say they're going to do something and then they do it. People who say that they're going to liberate themselves, they're going to confront a bed, and then they confront it, regardless of what the rest of the world is saying. So if they bring that lesson with them, and if they carry that lesson with them, this could be the infusion that Zimbabwe wants. But if they follow the same line that we have seen, whereby munhu wese anongoti rega ndingojoina line repatronage reZANU-PF kuti zvindirerukire, it's not going to help any of us. It's just going to increase the suffering. The moral decay of the society that we're talking about is going to increase. Your prostitution will go up, your crime will go up, your selfishness will go up, because now you have more scarce resources that you're fighting for. You inject maybe 2 million back into that population. Scarcity. So it depends. It depends on the quality of men and women that are crossing that border, the quality of men and women that will choose to raise a hand and say, okay, I want to lead, and whether they will heed that person who says, I want to lead. We have also become very fixated on the same faces who in a lot of times have chosen not to lead, or lead the way that would liberate us, or who at many occasions have chosen that they don't want to pay the price. with justifications. I'm not saying they don't have justifications, but is it what we need? You see, is that what we need to get to the Zimbabwe that you dream of? Or for your children to get to that Zimbabwe because you would have paid the price, so you're not going there. So this is how I'm thinking about it when I look at South Africa. You can say what you want, but I think you have to remember that these guys have given us a lifeline for 30 years. And in those 30 years, if we were people that were genuine about trying to resolve a national problem, we could have capitalized upon it. They haven't done, we didn't do that. But here also they've given us another gift. They've given us a parting gift. If the majority are going to shift, it's not just another 2008 scenario or a 2013, 2015 xenophobia scenario. They've given us another gift. You can confront your government even when it says it doesn't want you to confront you. And they've sent you back home at the right time when you're having a contestation with one of the most overall changes to the government, to the governance structure, CAB3. That is an extreme change. So it's a moment of confrontation. The government has confronted you first and told you, we want to now be answerable unto ourselves, right? They were the ones that made the first move of confrontation. Are you going to respond to it? Then history has caught up with them. Their failures in the past, which they could hide in South Africa, have been brought to light in the moment that they are saying they have the right to rule and the right to extend their rule without your involvement. Their failures have been brought back. The mass repatriation that you are seeing in South Africa is evidence of ZANU-PF failure for the past 25 years. Don't make a mistake that it is anything else. It is not the evil of your South African brothers and sisters. It is the evidence of ZANU-PF failure and other African states' failure. To a point whereby you want all your nations to be absorbed by one. Imagine that. You want all these nations you're talking of to be absorbed by one, because all these people will not do one thing: confront the genesis of their problem, the cause of their problem. In our case, the ZANU-PF government and its misrule. So in landing, I'll tell you the truth, I will be disheartened if there is any violence that happens, and I hope it doesn't happen. I hope our people just, all we do is video, that's all I'm hoping for, right? And it doesn't tend to any violence. But I'm not angry at the South Africans, because my logic does not allow me to do that. Doenda ku next door every day vanondibvumira kukwata, breakfast nendiripo, lunch ndiripo, dinner ndiripo ndichidya. Tozoti down the years, a few years later uzonzwa kuti tadini chikafu achisinyatsoita chimbomira. Should you be angry at your neighbors? Or you should be angry at your father? It's that simple. It's that simple,
No,
guys.
I know.
Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, Tadine. And I think it's a point. It's a point, you know, I wonder kuti tine inonzi system ere yekurekota numbers akauya at this period or arikuya because of this. If obviously it was a country name proper working systems, these people will probably be going to register for the benefit system or job employment. Avanabasa. So they are in a place where they are looking for employment, but in the meantime, the government can assist them with whatever benefits. But I'm not so sure I don't think we do have that system in Zim. But point our pets are now Tadin. I was thinking that as well. Are these people going to be angry at Kuti? Why did the South Africa let us go? Or are they now actually going to to confront Kuti why it is in our what we should be what we should be having? So yeah, it's a very it can be a very thin line here. What's the thought process will be like? Because if you are thinking, good, yeah, South African stuff, or somebody will be looking for the next opportunity to go back. Good, yeah, you know what? I need to go back. But you know what? I think from what has happened and what's happening, people should be coming together now and say, you know what? We've got our country with resources. We've got our country with all these things. What is it that we can do to make our country work? Because we don't want to be in the same situation. You know, foreigner, all these things that they've been subjected to. You can't keep on begging in other countries while you've got yours. So I do hope that will inspire people to, you know, to come together. But I think Shinoda leadership as well, that all those people somehow they need to know that they're gathering towards the same thing. But thanks, Dr. Tadin. Can I give it to Ru Tumbonzwa lady voice? Then we can go with the lineup.
Thanks, Titus. And yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I agree with what Dr. Tadini was saying, because I've been seeing a campaign on TikTok where many people have been complaining about Zimfest. Tyson, I know Steve K was saying you guys are boycotting
We are. I'm a piano
but
stage throughout. Yeah, I think there's a consensus. There's a momentum gathering up to try and discourage the South African artists from coming to Zimfest. Yeah.
yeah, and for me, I just look at that as our priorities being wrong. Like, fair enough, you can boycott them or whatever the case might be, but where is the same energy when it comes to boycotting someone like Jab Pressure, for example? Someone like Tinoma Chakaire, like there's so many cases